Marvel Studios, I've asked several times to Andy, hi Andy, to Jackson also, hi Jackson, and they told me that it's much more complex. There's a lot more people involved, and you need authorization to go on stage, and they are trying to avoid any leaks. So it's quite difficult. And they told me that I think almost no concept artists never went on the stage. But I got another story. Yeah, I'm really talkative tonight. And I've also worked on a huge Chinese blockbuster. And it was a huge budget, like 150 millions. And sadly, it didn't stayed. It only stayed something like a few days in the Chinese theaters. So it's a complete failure. But for me, it was really awesome to work on this project because I went to LA, and on this one I was sharing directly with the director and also the writer and the other guy, the other first concept artist, and the director was coming from martial arts and stunts, and
Jackie
so
Chan.
he worked. Exactly, he was working with Jackie Chan, with Jet Li, with Jason Statham, and he was a stunt double. He was also a stunt choreographer, and then on Hellboy 2, on Twilight, on a lot of different movies. And which is funny is I've seen that he worked on Shang-Chi and the Ring of Powers and the Ten Rings. I can remember the exact name. And which is funny is that I worked on this movie, Shang-Chi. And maybe I could talk later about that, some things that all the different things I'm doing for Marvel Studios, but I worked on some stunts and action scene with some small animation. So I don't know exactly, but maybe you've received and you've seen my proposals for those stunts. And something also funny, I got a really good vibe with him. I remember at some point when we have the meeting, he showed us a raw footage scene, a raw footage of a stunt and an action scene from Kingsman. You know the movie? Yeah, and you remember the sequence with Colin Firth in the church?
Yeah. A memory.
Yeah,
a carnage. Where everyone is killed. It's this one.
Yeah, exactly. So many.
It's a memorable one.
Yeah, the body count is crazy, and so he showed us the raw stunts choreography. I mean, what he did with his stuntmans, which means that there was no set; it was just the rehearse of the whole sequence. And so I've seen that, and then I started to do some kind of gesture like in front of the guy, and I was thinking, oh fuck, you are crazy, you just met him some few days ago, and but it's really fun because I was feeling like I was a really good vibe with him, and the way of sharing, there was something really, what's the name, not instinctive, but direct and cool, I mean. And then later, when I was still working with him, we had a call and I asked him for adding two agreements in my contracts, two different things in my agreements. Sorry, like the first one would be to have a role as an extra in the movie, and then the second one, I asked if I could be trained by himself, by the master, maybe for 1 hour. And so he laughed. He told me, yeah, okay, sure. And nothing happened finally, but it was a great experience.
1 hour to become a master. Why not?
I'm not sure, but it's also a good way to break your hand and not be able to draw anymore.
And so you also work on some TV shows.
Really few. I was working on Loki season 2 recently. What else? Yeah, I think maybe the only one, because Marvel Studios is developing more and more projects and more high quality TV show. I mean, it's the same team. It's our team. which is working on those projects. It's really close. It's exactly the same process, or almost the same process than on the big movies.
That was one of my something different work on TV shows and a movie, because you have, I would say that for a TV show you have to produce more content because it's a lot of episodes. So if you're working on something which, I don't know, 12 or more episodes, you have so much to do compared to a movie, but it's not the same time to spend on every episode, I guess. In a movie you have more time to work on 1 hour, on a 2 hours movie, and on TV show you probably must work either way.
Honestly, on my side, I didn't notice any big change. I mean, it was quite the same process. I was working with the awesome Jackson Z, and sharing with him. He gave me his notes, and maybe I could talk about what I'm doing and what the team is doing at Marvel Studios.
Sure.
So we are working on different things, but mainly it's all about the character concepts, the look of the outfits, the suits, and everything. So there is the characters, then also some creatures. When some creatures are involved, like let's say in the next Quantum Mania, there's a lot of different creature. What else? On keyframes. So how to explain keyframes? So it's not storyboard, but it's really an illustration depicting, showing a scene of the movie, but the movie is not made yet. So maybe it's the first step between the writing, the script, and it may be the first step when you showing some picture. I mean, now goal is to produce some vertical images, like a movie still, which could be the closer to what the movie could look finally. So and because the process is not organic, but there's a lot of changes. I mean, and because we are the first step, I mean, sometimes you are working on some raw or first early ideas, and then it changes. It's part of the process. So it could be sometimes painful to have all those work thrown in the garbage can, but it's not because you're not doing your work well, or I hope so. It's just because the scripts and the idea change. And we are lucky because for each movie there are art books released with a lot, not everything, but with a lot of artworks, and we are able to share that. And I'm also doing some few different things, like I don't know how to explain. It's some kind of short sequence, short animation. So at first I'm not an animator, but I have a lot of fun doing that. Maybe it's because I'm coming from comic books, and let's say it could be some action scene, some fight scene, or maybe how a guy or a character could use his power. Like I did that for Ella in Thor Ragnarok. I did that also for Shang-Chi. And the funny part is that sometimes I'm taking I'm doing some rehearsal. I'm trying to grab some videos. Let's say for Shang-Chi, for example, I did some videos of myself doing some kind of fight choreography and stuff, and then I'm using this basis for rhythm and all the different steps.
This is usually what we can see. We see a lot of animators from Pixar or DreamWorks doing this kind of stuff. They are looking at themselves in a mirror and then drawing themselves or recording themselves doing some kind of movement, crazy movement.
Yeah, it's so fun to do. I mean, yeah, I got some for one sequence on Shang-Chi. So I was trying to play two different ninjas because I need some some bad guys, and the main character So I rehearsed several times, and I was trying to do the right sequence. Like my goal, my purpose was to explore how the main character Cheng-Chi and also his father were using the power rings. And so for the bad guy, at some points, I developed the idea of he was using the ring and join them as some kind of chain. And so I was trying to link his character, his philosophy, to develop a philosophy. Like, he's the bad guy. It's all about, control and strength and anger and things like that. So I used this idea of the chain made by the 10 different rings. And so I was working on some choreography when he was using the chains, throwing it, and maybe also using it around some bad guys. And the fun thing is, I think you can see this. It's really short, but in the movie, in the 5 first minutes, you have a fight sequence when he's using the rings, making a chain and sending it to blast some of the guys in front of him. So yeah, I was maybe maybe if you were in this movie in this theater, maybe I was the guy in the audience which was doing during this moment.
So you also do some FX sometimes, design some FX, concept of FX or keyframes of FX, or it depends on the stage of the production.
Yeah, exactly. Keyframes, and same thing. I'm doing some animation, because when you are dealing with effects, there is a lot about colors and texture and different things, but there is a lot also involved with motion, gesture, and time, because usually a special effect is developing through time. I mean, when there is an explosion, there is the start, and there are all the different steps. And for example, I did a lot of that on Quantum Mania, and I can't wait for discovering how it looks on the screen. Yeah, trying to think about special weapons from the quantum realm and how they could how they are looking like.
And I know you are under some strict NDA, but when you start to work on a new movie, do you have the full script, or do you have just an idea of what will be the sequence you will work on? Or
at first, I didn't receive the full script. Sometimes it was quite hard. I mean, there's a lot of work to do, like reading under the lines and doing your homeworks once again and trying to understand everything, because usually when you're working on the look of a character, you need to know more about his dramatic evolution in the story, because you could use patterns and elements of the suit, of his look, to tell different things. So yeah, sometimes it was hard at some points. Then sometimes having some full sequences, like on the Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yeah, I remember receiving the full sequences on Shang-Chi 2. And recently, since a few years, I don't know, maybe it's a matter of confidence, or I have sometimes the full script to read and to understand, which is cool, because you get the whole vision of the movie, the whole tone, and everything in mind. And yeah, I remember when I was working with Ryan Menarding, the lead on Avengers Endgame. I was working on the time travel suits of the whole team. And so when I started working on that, I think even Avengers Infinity War was not yet released. And so he told me basically the whole story of the two movies in order for me to understand what it was about So it was a huge spoiler.
It's a, and you also should have a kind. I don't know if Marvel has a kind of Bible with all characters, and if sometimes you have some kind of freedom, or you have to follow some strict guidelines because characters obviously already appears in different movies and will appear in new, and you don't have so many ways to create new stuff, or you can still have some kind of freedom to add something and to try and to see if it will work.
There's no real Bible, I mean, for the whole movies, but there is something like, I could say, maybe some company culture. As I said before, I was reading when I was younger, and I'm still reading some Marvel comics. So I knew and I know a lot about the characters and the universe. Then the more and more I've seen Marvel movies, now I know the whole. I got the whole vibe. I mean, what they are looking for usually. I could say once again, I'm repeating myself about doing your homeworks, but for each project, I'm trying to grab some information about some info about the directors, what they did before, in order to try to get a more precise idea of the tone and the mood of the movie. Like maybe we could compare, all the Marvel movies to some really huge TV show, each episode being a really huge blockbuster. But if you're looking closely at them, for a lot of them, there is a specific vibe. Like, for example, the first Captain America, maybe it's about a pulp movie. Ant-Man, it's a heist movie. I mean, the rhythm and the music, everything. What else? Captain America and the Winter Soldier with Robert Redford is maybe something much more political, like some movies from the 70s. And there is something different. Like when I worked on Thor Ragnarok, before before starting, I was thinking about something really dark. I mean, the Ragnarok in the northern culture is something about the end of the world, the apocalypse, and so I was thinking about something really dark and intense. And then when you discover the final movie, I really like it. It's all about some kind of fantastic comedy first. And so I had a look at Taika Waititi's previous movies and projects to see if they hired this guy, it's for having some kind of his vision. And then after he was saying us some different references, or with Andy Park. Andy Park gave me some notes of their meetings, and so I understand that I have to shift my brain and to go onto something much more about comedy.
So we talk a lot about Marvel, but you also work a lot on Magic, and you have done a lot of cards, probably a decade, I think, at least. And it's a totally different kind of work, totally different universe, and probably, I don't know if you... I can't say that for this kind of work you can do more details or you have more freedom, or not in the sense of do whatever you want, but create some crazy background or to add some crazy characters that I've never really think about before.
Yeah, it's funny and interesting because there's a lot of people who think that maybe for Magic, all the artists are doing the illustration on their side, and then they are sending it to the office and to the Magic the Gathering team for developing the game. But in fact, there's a lot of constraints, and for Magic the Gathering, there is a Bible, a graphic Bible, a guideline for every new set. So when you're receiving the art notes, usually you get the notes for the due date for the sketch, the due date for the final, the rate, the name of the card, which is not sometimes the final name, the name of the final card. What else? The mood, the action. And they are also adding sometimes some reference, like look at the style guide and take some inspiration from the pages 100 to 112 for the background, the environments. And so you had to add your own take on it. You get sometimes some freedom because there is something to some characters and some elements to create. And with Magic, which is one of my favorite clients, I was lucky enough to be invited there in their offices several times to take part in some what they call concept push session. So it was something like for 3 weeks they're picking and taking 4, 5, or last time it was maybe 7 artists in the same room. And the goal is to develop the visual look, the visual style of the upcoming sets. So it's much more, it's really closer to what we are doing as concept artists for movies or video games, especially. Like it's not doing the final Magic illustration, it's all about concepting and doing some concept arts. So I think it was something like, usually I'm producing something like maybe 2 concepts per day, like the other guys, the other artists. So the idea is not to do some really crazy polished image, but just feeding the machine and developing the look of the wall sets. And what else for Magic the Gathering? Yeah, I did also illustration for the boxes, and I even do some animation. The same thing I was talking about Marvel, like for some kind of Bible, developing things around the Planeswalkers. And yeah, there is some really important, iconic character in the game called the Planeswalkers. It's characters. They are characters who are able to travel through from one plane to one other, so to one set to one other. And they asked me to create the first, what they call the 5 Lorwyn Planeswalkers. So there was some Planeswalker before, but it was the really first who were put it under the spotlight. And so I'm really proud having designed them, like Jace, Chandra, Garruk, Tezzeret, Liliana, and because they are still fan favorites, and you can you can still see them on the main visual, or they are still part of the story. Maybe 15 years after I created them.
And to get back to the monographs, they will be part of it in some ways, as we discussed about Marvel, about Gathering, and
Sure.
like the Magic Gathering will take an important place in the book, or at least will be part of some extra pages.
No, I think for Magic the Gathering there will be a lot of they are really cool Wizard of the Coast with the artist, and I got a really good relationship with them, and so there will be a lot of my Magic illustration featured in the book, as well as some concept arts, some sketches, mind maps, and even new version of cards. Like I recently did another project which was about playmats. The playmats for putting the cards on top when you're playing, and I had to do some extended art version of those Planeswalkers illustration from 15 years ago. So yeah, this is the we'll put those new versions in the book. So yeah, a lot of Magic the Gathering.
And what about the extra bonuses, rewards, part of this project?
Because there's only one day left, I'm not sure we reach all the stretch goal. I was thinking I would have loved to do some, facsimile of one of my sketchbook. I mean, not a fake sketchbook, but with at the exact scale and size than my own sketchbook. Would have been cool. But for now, I think we got some special effects on the covers. There is a special slipcase which will be exclusive of this Kickstarter.
But I know you
some
can
prints.
have you can still pledge and have some extra sketches or exclusive sketches. Not wrong.
Not sketches, but some extra prints, and also some version of the book with that I will sign and with a stamp. Yeah, I made a really cool stamp, from the character of the cover, which is called Flower. There's a huge story with it, and so I made a nice stamp. Maybe I could try to stamp it just to show you how it's looking.
How does it work?
Sometimes I'm a little kid.
No, it's important. Sure. Now everyone wants a stamp.
Live.
This is how it works.
Yeah, something like this. Yeah, no, it's not perfect, this one, but anyway, you have the idea, and in the book
it will be perfect.
Yeah.
Just perhaps to a few words before we end up this session, a few advice for people who would like to start a career as artists right now.
What I could do?
Work
a lot. Try to use your brain. I mean,
it can be useful.
If we are talking about concept art, doing some speed painting is cool, and it's great and important to have some, obviously, some painting skills. But there is also something about the mind. I mean, and in an era when we are talking a lot about artificial intelligence and stuff like that, sad stuff like that. Maybe the difference will come from developing and having the best ideas. When we're talking about video games or movies, it's always about creating some an experience for the audience, and it's all about emotion. And one interesting thing in doing concept art, I really like this part, is doing some research, learning, growing up, and also being able to put some information, like in the background in some settings in video games or even movies. You can work on some more info and details in the background. Same thing when you're designing a character. His or her look will tell a lot about himself. And this is something really important to keep in mind.
Some researches, and perhaps also, if I'm interrupting, but I'm talking about with a lot of artists and working in a production, they often say also that one of the important skills is communication, being able to speak with other people. And
yeah, sure. Yeah, there is something about the fact, when you're doing concept arts, it's not like doing an illustration. You're just part of a huge, a bigger process. And it's all about communication, trying to understand what the director of the movie or the game or the game designer are looking for. Same thing for the having a good communication with the 3D artists, to communicate with them and to deliver the best and everything they need. And sometimes there's a lot of really polished illustration on the internet, ArtStation, and so on. But maybe sometimes when you are working on a game during production, you get really few time, and there is a really artist who come at you and asking for some more details about. Could you draw something quick, just a sketch to show me how it's done? I mean, just talking about detail on the shoot or maybe on environments. It's also part of the job, yeah.
And I think it's a big misunderstanding for people who want to start a career who don't really know how it works, to think that it's all about polished image or a final beautiful image, as people like to say. But I can't imagine people spending all their time in a studio just doing a beautiful image. I don't know how it will be used, and unless you are working for the marketing department and doing the cover at the end or something like that, or a big poster for whatever. I'm not sure it's the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just get 1 hour or two just to do some quick sketch on top of 3D basis, just in order to help, your the other guys of the team.
And I think it's also an important point to remind that sketching is still important. It's a recurring question we have. I need to know how to sketch. Because people I've seen the photo bashing area also before AI, and some cool things that just manipulating tools. But there will be something missing.
Yeah, sure. I agree completely. So always have a notebook with you, a sketchbook. And yeah, the drawing and painting skills are obviously the really important too. And maybe I've worked on some different projects recently, like another Mexican movie, not Marvel Studios, and so it was cool. I was sharing with the director. And at some point, he sent me some tries he did with AI. And so it was cool. It was really useful because, with this picture, I mean, he did some. He's not an artist. He's not. I think I'm not sure, but I think he's not able to sketch. But he gave me some images. It was a really nice start for me to understand what he was looking for. But I should say, sometimes when you are an artist, like a storyboard artist, or maybe you will be the fastest tool to share a vision. I mean, let's say if someone is talking or just writing on document an idea, maybe you could do a small sketch or maybe digitally something in 1 hour, and maybe it will be the first visual incarnation or visual representation of the previous idea. It's so I think maybe those drawing skills.
Yeah, I don't want to speak
future
too much about AI because it's an emotional topic right now. I don't want to go deeper into this, but anyway, they are good, but it's a very complex subtopic, but it's here. So, so the Kickstarter project is almost done. 1 day left, and I was wondering what's next. Do you have any soon coming project or working already? Yeah, for sure you are working on other projects at the same time, but something more personal.
So in the right order, first finishing the campaign, the Kickstarter, then finishing the book. I mean, all the content. I still got a lot of stories to share, and I really like the graphic artist who worked on the graphic design. But I mean, working on the wall contents, so that will be still a lot of work. And then I'm still working for Marvel Studios. Right now, I'm working on Thunderbolts. I can say it because it was announced. And there is still I think my next really huge project is a really big graphic novel that I've written, that I'm really proud of. I've worked on it since I'm working on it since years now, maybe 2 years, maybe more for the writing. So this is really something personal.
So you are doing sketching. You are sketching, colors, writing. Right?
I'm doing everything. I've started on the writing, which is something for me now, which is really, it's a passion. I mean, it's really different from drawing, but and I've tried to do it well. I mean, I didn't think about the drawing and the visual look of the pages first. I was just focusing on the structure, the characters, and everything. The writing. I'm sharing a lot with a lot of the friends around who are writers, and I think I learned a lot. And I could speak about that and talk about that during hours. So. And also, it's a really huge and long process. I mean, I've got something like 106 pages. I did the
So you will be able to do a movie, right? Next step.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe just finishing the comics. Maybe I could show you quickly some few pages. Yeah, this is some Ex Libris illustration. an illustration for the ex libris of the monograph. But I was talking about the comic book pages. Yeah, I even started with some traditional one with paintings and at first. And I'll be honest, I've stopped doing those traditionally because it was too time consuming and there's so many work to do on the project. So I got some few of them, and I got something funny. Oh, sorry. Maybe it will be for some other talk later if you want me to for another live. Yeah, this is one of my sketchbook when I was talking about doing a facsimile. And so this is a storyboard of one page. So you get all the small doodles. I'm using my text, the script, and then I'm working on the editing of the page. What's happening in every panel. Then I'm doing some few sketches there. You can see my screen?
Yeah, totally. It's
yeah. So a lot of different small doodles, and then the graphic layouts. And I'm trying. At first, I was doing some really rough version, but I realized that the more info and details I've put it in those storyboard, the more useful it's for me. And then what page is it? Yeah. Oh, magic. And so it's the final pages. This one is traditional. I mean, it's cool for me. It's back to the paper and the pen. And so I got a lot of them. I got another one which is cool. Yeah, it's about grief. It's about death. There's no fantasy elements in the story. So this is quite different from my usual work. This one, and the final page.
So
anyway,
it's A3. What's the size? A3. Oh, it's
A3,
A2.
Yeah. Not A2, A4, A3.
A4. Okay.
Yeah, and you know what? I choose this size just in order to be efficient. I mean, because I've already got a lot to do with Marvel Studios. This is a huge project for me, and I've tried to use the more efficient tool and process, having fun also, going back to traditional. But I don't need a really huge space on a crazy size. The pages with crazy size, so it's closer to usual US comics pages size.
Letter, it's not letter, but it's different way to. I don't know the exact size, but they don't use the A3 for it.
Yeah, but it's close. I mean, yeah.
And do you have a kind of deadline, or do you know when you will release it, or just let's see?
Let's see, because during all my life, I've worked for so many clients. Yeah, as I said, we talk about that. I developed my own video game studio, but we are dealing with big, huge company like Capcom or Remember Me, and I'm working with Marvel Studios, so there's a lot of constraints. I really like it, but on this comic book right now, yeah, I've done something like two-thirds of the book. But I started talking with publisher, but I don't need any more constraints. So I'm trying to having fun on it, and also it's so much work, like some kind of marathon.
Yeah,
really long, really long race. And I must admit that there is something about trying to never quit and always keep the wheel, and sometimes it's hard.
But at least you are never bored.
Yeah. What do you mean with all those projects?
Yeah, with all the projects, you don't have time to be bored. You always have something to do. So it's more about knowing how much time you will spend on this or this.
Yeah, and I think about something. So I'm writing also more and more, but I should say it's also life is short, and I'm not the same at the young myself when I started. And so right now, yeah, I'm trying to focus on some important project for me, meaningful, something more meaningful, and I don't know.
No, but at
After,
least I can't wait to see this. And we still have a few hours to pledge for this project, so I think people are late and still want it's time to go, guys, or it will be too late. So time
yeah,
to go.
exactly. Multiverse, a huge art book with crazy uh, illustration and stories inside.
Go on the website, on the Kickstarter page, and have a look.